It is a short pod series, 5 episodes called Learned by Being Burned, Teachers in the K-12 403B. In it, teachers from around the country talk about how they were burned, how they learned, and how they then drove change. Episode 5 details how one school district, Montgomery County Public Schools outside Washington, D.C., took their district plan from 12 vendors to 6 to 1. The benefits official literally lays out the formula for taking control of your plan. School districts, sideline the 403B, diminish it, offer one great 457B plan. If you are in one of the states that allows educators to contribute to the state 457B plan, and you can go to our website, 403bwiser.org, search your state and see if it's eligible and see if it's a good plan. There's power in numbers. If you're the single teacher who listens to this and you go by yourself to the benefits office, unfortunately, we've heard too many stories of teachers being sidelined. This is our vendor list. This is how it is. We always say, build an army. Talk to your colleagues.
Welcome to Catching Up to Fi, a podcast on mindset, money, and life for late starters of any age on their journey to financial independence. I'm Bill, and I'm a late starter.
I'm Jackie, and I'm also a late starter, and we're your host. We're here to help you on your journey to financial independence, no matter where you're starting.
We're going to talk to experts, other late starters, and explore topics related to our mission.
Join us as we catch up to Fi together.
All right, we're still talking about teacher 403Bs and whatnot and the complexities involved in creating a retirement foundational plan. And one thing in the corporate world that's become easy is auto-enrollment and auto-enrollment into a target date fund with auto-escalation so that maybe it does run in the background and you don't need to worry about that. But this is not true for teachers. I can't imagine that it would be easy to be auto-enrolled in anything when there's so many vendors and complexities in their plans.
Exactly. It's another big shortcoming with 403B plans is the fact that they're mostly multi-vendor. So even if school districts wanted to have auto-enrollment, you have the challenge of, if you're in Texas, which of the 50 vendors do you choose? If you're in California, which of the 30 vendors do you choose? Now, we did know of a small school district in Northern Virginia that did a small match to educators. And so they auto-enrolled them into that. It was a TIA-CREF plan that they auto-enrolled them into because TIA-CREF, I think, helped out with the match. So there's a few examples around the country where auto-enrollment is happening, but mostly these are self-funded plans by educators.
Yeah, and then you mentioned match. Essentially, I guess the pension functions as the match, so there is no automatic matching in any of these 403B, 401k plans, correct?
Exactly. Again, there's a few instances of this occurring, but it's the rare plan that does any kind of match, any kind of enrollment. And again, this is why we think school districts should clean up their plans, go single vendor 403B. Then you could start doing that. Our understanding is that there is a shortage of teachers right now. And how do you attract employees? You do it with benefits. And this could be a benefit that a school district could offer. They could say, look, we've got this great single vendor 403B plan. We're going to give you a small match to incentivize you to work at our school district.
Yeah, this worries me because my son and his girlfriend are in this kind of situation and needing to understand a pension and that functioning as a match, but that is decaying potentially, and they may not be vested, for example. We didn't talk about vestment in any of these things. Yeah. Does that become an issue in this arena as well for teachers?
Typically, 403Bs are individually owned, and that's in comparison to group contracts that you get with a 401k. But there are advantages to group contracts. We actually wish the 403B had more of a group contract structure as opposed to the individual contract. So most school district 403B plans, they're individual arrangements with individual participants. Where this becomes a problem is if a school district does want to go single vendor, moving the money from the participants in the old various plans is very difficult because it's on an individual basis as opposed to a group basis. We've mentioned Chicago Public Schools has an excellent single vendor. They now are on a group contract. So in the next couple of years, let's say they want to put their plan out to bid to get even lower fees, it would be easy to move that money because it's group nature. So that's the pros and cons of the group versus the individual contracts. And we're actually going to do a podcast on this in the next few weeks.
Yeah, this is another nuance that I didn't know, because there's seems like the system puts so many points of friction in it to make it impossible to unravel or undo what they've done, that it becomes so expensive that it's easier to stay the course and be with the dinosaurs, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much friction. Now, Dan, I wanted to make sure we mention that there is a podcast that profiles or highlights the voices of teachers. Tell us about that. I want to make sure we include that.
Sure. So we have our regular podcast, which you kindly mentioned, Teach and Retire Rich. And I do want to say something about that name. It's tongue in cheek. It's talking about the intrinsic rewards of being an educator. Bill, your son is probably experiencing this. You get a lot of satisfaction out of being an educator, helping kids. So that's part of it. The other part is that teachers have a lot of retirement plans available. And if you know how to wisely use them and have good choices, you can retire rich in the knowledge that you embarked on a rewarding career and you have a comfortable retirement. We created a separate podcast that we had a production crew do. And so it's so much better than our regular podcast. It's highly professional. It is a short pod series, 5 episodes called Learned by Being Burned, Teachers in the K-12 403B. In it, teachers from around the country talk about how they were burned, how they learned, and how they then drove change. Episode 5 details how one school district, Montgomery County Public Schools outside Washington, D.C., took their district plan from 12 vendors to 6 to 1. The benefits official literally lays out the formula for taking control of your plan. But the overarching theme of that podcast, Jackie, is the voice of the educator. Thanks for asking about that.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to get out there too is we talked about another future friend of mine, Carl Fisch, and all the things that he's done in this domain. Tell us about him, his website, his resources, and books that are available to teachers for their districts or their states.
Yeah, Carl is a remarkable person. He's a retired Colorado teacher who wrote a book aimed at Colorado educators. So teachers in Colorado could get his book, learn all about the pension system and all about the 403B, 401k, and 457B environment in that state. We had Carl on our podcast, and kind of jokingly at the end of the pod, we said, Carl, you should do this for the 49 other states. Lo and behold, we're recording this in 2026. Carl has done that. He has collaborated with a teacher in 49 other states, a teacher from each state, and written a version of his book for every single state. Not only that, he wrote a book just for New York City because it's different than the state of New York. Fisch Financial, and it's FICH, is his website. On at least a weekly basis, he covers really interesting saving for retirement and in retirement topics. So can't recommend Carl and his resources anymore. He is awesome.
There is a question I have that I had thought about here, because you're obviously a futurist and you probably have a dream for how things should be. You've been fighting from the ground up in this messy arena of the 403B, trying to change it from within. And as we talked about in the show, you're sort of have a different strategy now, and you're using the 457 to kind of supplant that. But say you could start from scratch. Say you have a dream world. This is how maybe retirement for teachers, public officials, state officials, or even for every citizen. What would your dream world for retirement accounts look like?
I'm going to give you 2. And we almost had this dream world in this country. And this is little known. Back in the George W. Bush presidency in the early 2000s, before the war in Iraq, his administration proposed folding all defined contribution plans into one simple plan. I think it was called an ERSA, Employee Retirement Savings Account, I think. All IRAs into a single plan, and I'm forgetting the name of it right now. So we would have only had two plans. So if you are a private sector employee like my wife, and you're a public sector employee like I used to be as a teacher, we would have the same retirement plan. Think how simple that would have been. We never got that. And we were able to interview the architect of that. So I'll send you guys that link if you have any interest in linking our interview with him. We interviewed him several years ago, and he basically said the war in Iraq sucked up all the oxygen, and we lost that opportunity to simplify saving for retirement. For me, it would be make the 403B subject to ERISA, the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974, which requires school districts to be fiduciaries. But notice how I said it requires them to be fiduciaries. There's nothing preventing them from being fiduciaries. School districts can take ownership of their plan. So the scenario one I told you never came to fruition. The scenario I just laid out is probably not going to come to fruition. So here's a realistic one. School districts, sideline the 403B, diminish it, offer one great 457B plan. If you are in one of the states that allows educators to contribute to the state 457B plan, and you can go to our website, 403bwiser.org, search your state and see if it's eligible and see if it's a good plan. If you are in a state that teachers can contribute to this plan, offer that state plan, sideline the 403B, okay? If not, contact Fidelity, contact a low-cost company and offer one low-cost 457B. As of today, Vanguard does not offer a 457B, but I suspect that will change in the future. Companies like Vanguard are always looking for more assets under management, and there is lots of 457B money out there.
Yeah, Dan, why don't we do a little bit of a roll call? Okay, you have mentioned some of the school districts that do great, or even states. Shout out just a few that are doing a great job, even though the regulations don't require them to.
Oh, thanks for saying that. So again, Chicago Public Schools, excellent low-cost plan. Montgomery County Public Schools, excellent low-cost plan. They have one 403B provider, Fidelity. They have one 457B provider, Fidelity. Think about that. No more sales agents preying on teachers in the staff lounge. It's just a fantastic plan. And the pricing they've got is as good as any 401k plan in the country. Let's see, Anchorage Public Schools, single vendor plan. Denver has several school districts that are single vendor plans. In Wisconsin, and we didn't touch on this, unions should be a big part of the solution to this, right? They are set up to help their members. Many local unions get it and have been good on this topic. Unfortunately, the national union, the NEA, and Scott and I are pro-union. The National Education Association has been in what we describe as an unholy relationship with a company called Security Benefit for decades. There was reporting that NEA was receiving millions of dollars for this endorsement. One of the products used to be called the NEA Value Builder. Imagine being an educator, you don't know about the 403B, but someone comes to sell you a product called the NEA Value Builder. Wouldn't you intrinsically think, oh, NEA, that's my union, this is probably a good plan? So you sign up for it. You find out that the fees are onerous. The surrender charges are onerous. At one point, there was this novel lawsuit against the NEA, and it said by endorsing this vendor, you assumed a fiduciary standard. And so this was 10 to 12 years ago, the NEA was sued for their relationship with Security Benefit. Unfortunately, the lawsuit was tossed out because 403B plans are not subject to ERISA. But wouldn't you know, soon afterwards, Security Benefit started offering a lower cost product. That product today is called Invest Myself. And I believe you have to be a union member now in most districts to contribute to that. So if you see Security Benefit, the only product to invest in is called Invest Myself. Did you want to hear about 457 plans we really like?
Yeah, let's do that too. What states have the 457 plans you really like?
Oh my gosh, several are just nailing it. The big state would be New York State Deferred Comp. I mentioned on the pod over $30 billion of assets under management, drives down costs. Kentucky's 457B is excellent. If you are in the state of Kentucky, there is no reason to invest in a 403B unless you have maxed out the 457. Do the state-based 457B. The third one is Ohio Deferred Comp. It is excellent. And what I really like about it, that's right, Jackie, you're in Ohio. And
yeah, I'm in Ohio.
I was just in your state. I was just in a town called Dover for a wedding. It was gorgeous. We had the best weather.
And you didn't come and visit me? What?
I can't even believe it. I did visit the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So that was fun. We went to Canton. But Ohio Deferred Comp, it's our understanding it's available in every district, and even better, it's online enrollment. It's seamless. So many 403B plans, you have to sign up with paperwork. It's so antiquated. But those would be the school districts off the top of my head. And before I close the loop on unions, the union in Wisconsin, the WEA Trust, is an example of a state-based union that has educators' best interests in mind. They created their own product, and in many school districts in Wisconsin, they're the single vendor. So they are excellent. Again, that's an example of a union doing it right, unlike our national union, the NEA, which is doing it wrong.
So, Dan, I hate to put you on the spot, but we talked about the good ones.
Yeah.
So who is getting the red light and who is the trash we need to call out? Sorry.
Okay, it would be if you go to our school district rating project, it is any of the school districts that have an F, and I'll call up one of them right here, an F or a D. There's just no need to do this. So the one we profile, let's see, is Abbott Independent School District in Texas only has yellow vendors. One yellow vendor, the rest are red. They are a D. And then Riverview Gardens in Missouri is an F. So any school district that is an F, I call out. And as far as states, off the top of my mind, I can't remember the states. I know Pennsylvania and New York are two states that do not let teachers contribute to the 457B. I know obviously Ohio does. Bill, I can do a quick check here on Tennessee.
I was going to ask you about Tennessee.
Let's go to our new website, 457bwiser.org, search state plans. We'll do real time here. There's Tennessee. Let's click that. All right. Teachers are eligible to contribute to this plan. It's called Retire Ready Tennessee. It's a 401k and a 457B. And they have target date funds from Vanguard. And we give that plan a green rating, which is our best. Let me see. Okay. That state is... trying to think of other states beyond.
Good on Tennessee, man. Go Vols.
That's right. And let's see. Throw out a state name. I'll search there. Give me a name of a state. How about that? And we'll search it.
Where would we think this is just good because there are shining examples of what we should strive to be, and then that we need to bring up the examples that are what we should strive not to be. So I think it's good to call folks out.
What about Georgia or South Carolina? That's where I grew up.
Georgia, teachers are not eligible to contribute to this plan. And that's a bummer because we give it a green rating. It's called the Peach State Reserves, and it's not peachy for teachers, unfortunately. And you said South Carolina?
Carolina, yep, SC. And for the bad ones that we're talking about, or the ones that currently get read, you have so many resources to help advocate to change that. So we're just saying there's room for improvement. And we actually have free resources that can help you do that at 403B Wise or 457B Wiser.
Yeah, .org, yes. And we in 403B Wise, we have our content split into 3 sections. It's education, it is advocacy, and community. Go to the advocacy section, and we have sample presentations you can download and adapt and do a presentation to your school district. We have 3 Google slide explainers. So if you just want to hit it quick, just show these 3 slides. We have letters that you can customize to send to your school district to ask them to offer a better choice or to make a 457B available. And then we have links to stories from like the New York Times and other publications illustrating how this plan is so bad. So that would be what I would say. And then, of course, our Facebook group. But Jackie, South Carolina has a green rated plan and teachers are eligible. So Georgia, no, but South Carolina, yes. And Bill, one last, throw me a school district or a state, Bill, one last.
Where are you from, Bill? You're from Illinois?
Sure, I grew up in North Carolina, so let's go after North Carolina.
North Carolina, let's take a look. North Carolina, teachers are eligible to contribute to this plan, and it gets a green rating for us. So it's really good. So
we talked about at the beginning of the show, 30 states have now required standalone financial education in high schools.
Yeah.
Your effort, it pairs well with what Next Gen Personal Finance is doing, what Jackie's trying to do, what we're all trying to do to get education into the classrooms about financial literacy. And at the same time, we're trying to get responsible retirement plans into the hands of our teachers. How are we doing with regards to comparing state for state? You know, we got 30 states with the education. How many states have green plans that give access for teachers to the 457? It's almost the same story.
Yeah, it is. As you'd mentioned, there's 30 states across the country that NGPF has worked with to make that a required class. And I think we call it the dirty dozen. I think there are 12 states who don't let teachers contribute to their 457. So that's part of why we launched 457B Wiser. It's not just to explain to teachers and school districts why they should use the 457. We're also going to use this site as a way to advocate for states like New Jersey, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. Think about this. Pennsylvania is home to Vanguard, okay? I was also, before I went in Ohio for this wedding, I was at a graduation in Rhode Island, and we drove through Philadelphia past Valley Forge, which is where Vanguard is located. Think about this. In the state that Vanguard is the home to, you would think every school district in Pennsylvania would offer Vanguard, and you would think they would let the teachers contribute to the state 457B, but no.
So true. So we went through just trying to call out some of these, and I hate to call out the bad ones without showing them or giving them resources on how to improve it. And we have done that. So if you're in one of those school districts, Dan, what do you recommend they do? One of the bad school districts.
Yeah. So now are you talking about 457 or just you've got a bad plan in your district?
Yeah, I'm thinking both of them because part of the solution to a bad 403B is a 457. So either way, I think you guys have some great resources to help assist with changing that, because the bottom line is, how are these teachers moving towards getting a retirement plan that will allow them to step away when they're ready with dignity?
Yeah, it's such a good question. There's power in numbers. If you're the single teacher who listens to this and you go by yourself to the benefits office, Unfortunately, we've heard too many stories of teachers being sidelined. This is our vendor list. This is how it is. We always say build an army. Talk to your colleagues. We think a great resource is to get them to listen to our podcast, Learn by Being Burned. If that doesn't fire you up about the problems, I don't know what else will. So now let's say you have 5 to 10 teachers who are now inspired. Contact us. We will do a free 1-hour session. Send the link to all the people in the school district. Now, like we spoke in Buffalo to over 350 teachers. In Baltimore, I think it was over 400. Okay. And Baltimore, I think it was Baltimore City went from multi-vendor to single vendor. And we think our presentation helped inspire more people to jump on board. So that's what I would say is build an army. As far as the 457B goes, start lobbying your state to offer a 457B. It makes no sense to deny teachers the ability to contribute to a state 457B plan. Because think about this logically. If you are the financial company managing the 457, don't you want more assets under management? Because you'll make more money. Why would you deny one segment of state workers the ability to contribute to a 457? It is illogical. I wonder if it's more like 403B companies advocate against this because they want to keep them trapped in these bad 403B plans.
But we're not conspiracy theorists around here, right?
Well, I am.
I am a little bit too when it comes to this.
We segment things, we silo things. And why should there be a solo 457K for me where it gives me more flexibility? If people have access to certain things, well, why can't it be universal? You're talking about a single vendor, low-cost passive index fund vendor, 457B plan for a state where all public folks have access to it. Honestly, as you said, in our first Bush administration, we could have had access. There are countries that have access to national retirement plans where it's all low-cost index funds. And because big money talks and big lobby talks, we have to be David and Goliath against these forces when we know what is right. And it's just so hard for us to get there. And what you're doing is yeoman's work. And I hope we've put together more army for you and your efforts in 403B wise.
More recruits.
Yeah, I'm fired up. This is just fun stuff. I've learned so much today. And the solution is ultimately very simple. As you said, single vendor 457B statewide plan accessible to all with a low cost vendor. What could be simpler?
Well said. You know what? I'm actually going to amend my answer to the question you asked. What would be like the magic wand? Get rid of all retirement plans except for pension plans. Let's keep those. Let Americans contribute to the federal thrift savings plan. The TSP is gold standard.
Now, we love that. We love that.
And all Americans should have access to an HSA. We didn't even get into it there.
Yeah.
And states run these 529 plans too. And it was like, let's just get our heads together and be consistent with each of these accounts or plans that we have across the board. Why should it be different for Peter and Paul?
The complexity is insane. We just did a pod on where we took questions from our Facebook group, and one of them was about Roth 403B money, taking out Roth 403B money. So, with the Roth IRA, you can always take out your contributions, right? You can take those out, put them in yesterday, you can take them out tomorrow, technically, right? It's just the earnings until you're eligible. Well, if you have a Roth 403B and you retire before 59 and a half, it's more complex. There's different rules for taking Roth 403B money out than there is with Roth IRA. It makes no sense. I just put in the chat a link to our interview with that Bush official who wanted to simplify retirement plans. I think you get a hell of a kick out of listening to this. Or it might make you crazy because it would have put us out of business and that would have been fine. Even at the time, Scott and I could probably retire now, but I love doing this. But even back in 2000, when I was still building this, I said, oh my God, this is probably better for everyone. And we wouldn't need 403BYs.
Yeah, well, it's a great place. Let's put ourselves out of business, right? We're financial literacy for all, uniform, wonderful retirement plans for all. There is sort of a utopia there somewhere, but we sort of have to slog through the mud to get there, it seems.
That's right. You guys, it has been so awesome talking to you. I have so much respect for you, Jackie, and Bill. It's been just such a pleasure getting to know you, and I can't wait to have you on our podcast. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is a great plus component to this episode. We hope you've stayed with us. Maybe we'll have to play this as a bonus, but there was just so much more that had to be said, and we had to push record one more time.
No, I appreciate your interest.
All right. We'll see you once again next week on Catching Up to Fi.
So, Bill, as you know, we cannot do this show without our amazing staff and the people that help us put this on. And our editor is Fritz Brazard. We love them and they keep us going.
Yeah, Jackie, I mean, this show wouldn't have the quality it has without our folks, our peeps. And we'd also like to give you a few calls to action for the show. We love our community and we hope you love us back. If you would like to support the show and our mission to help late starters, you can do that at Buy Me a Coffee, which is a platform that allows you to make a donation. The link is in the show notes and on the website.
Check out the show notes for resources mentioned in today's show. Also, head on over to our website at catchinguptofi.com and check out our vetted resources, partners, and affiliates for discounts and their services because we love sharing great deals.
Please share the show with others and head on over to our Facebook community to help us grow. If you prefer video, head on over to YouTube and watch the show there. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Catching Up to Fi. We would appreciate it if you could also leave us a 5-star review to help our message reach others.
And while we are financial educators that love to teach, remember that our content is for general education and information purposes only. We are not providing financial, legal, or tax advice. Always do your own research or consult a professional before making important decisions.
So, Jackie, we'll see our audience next time on Catching Up to Fi. Cheers.